Brando, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We live in a world of social media. I want to ask some of the challenges that you face in your industry, which is, I guess, the beauty industry for men and women, that you face as a result of social media. Will you get clients or potential clients coming in saying, I saw this on social media, or I saw this particular look, I'm chasing this, and that's what they want you to sort of make happen for them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This creates a substantial problem, in my opinion, which is wishing for a treatment that is not necessarily
Right.
what you need. So
So let me stop you there and
yeah,
ask you that as a follow-up. Do you almost then become a bit of a therapist where you're going to have to say to somebody who's coming in, this might not be the best thing for you. Let's look at a few options that maybe are more appropriate?
of course. I mean, in our case, we try to educate the practitioners or doctors that are using our devices uh, to do the proper assessment, the proper checkup, and yes, in a way, make the client understand, the patient understand that it's not necessarily any treatment is not necessary for everyone. So what we try to do is to educate clinic practitioners to tailor the treatments to each client to make also this allows you to make sure that they're going to be happy with the result, because if they want us to treat something that is really not a concern in their case, they're also going to be limited with what they can achieve. The problem might be hidden somewhere else.
Right.
But of course, social media creates a demand, a unified demand that doesn't really help with that.
So then, is there a good side to social media? So for what you and your company do, you're always looking at the science and the data.
Yeah.
But there must be the reality as well, which is, for the past 6 months, we've had so many people coming in asking about XYZ. And it may be something that they've seen on social media.
Of course.
So do you then start to think we need to get the science to support what all these men and women are asking about? Or are you thinking we need to bring something like this in so that our customers are getting what they're asking for?
The science is there, and it's not like back in the days. Now, all these non-invasive treatments are really, really heavily science-backed.
Sure.
I'm not talking just about my company, but the industry has been likely steering towards like science-backed technologies. I would say that social media also have a bright side in that sense, because there's a lot of educational content. So rather than following a person that I like aesthetically, that aligns with my beauty standards, and perhaps would be impossible for me to match, even though I do the same treatment that this person does, because we're like different, quite simply. I would be more focused on education. There's a lot of very good doctors out there, or even practitioners, that focus on educating the audience. And through that, I think people will understand better what they need, rather than chasing that impossible standard that they follow.
So when men and women, you had said earlier that it's getting to the point where 20% of your clients will be men.
Yeah, very soon.
So who's more of a challenge to deal with, men or women?
Definitely women.
And is it because they're adamant that they want something in particular, or is it because they're not being flexible?
It's because of the expectation that they put on the treatment. You know, every treatment, particularly when we talk about non-invasive, kind of puts your body in the position of doing the best possible. Okay, so since everyone is different, the result is going to be different. Of course, I can focus on fixing certain things. I need to understand the root of that problem and try to fix it. But then how a body reacts to a certain treatment always differs from person to person. And I think women tend to be very demanding, particularly on how the results should be looking like. But actually, the reduction of a certain, I don't know, fat in a certain area in a woman might look different from another woman whose body is shaped differently. While the men, I find it to be a bit more logical about it, with less standard, more focus on the problem itself, and not focus on how will I look afterwards,
Right.
but more on will that be gone? Will I have sorted out my my issue? So, yeah,
So I'm thinking that this is probably common sense question.
yeah,
Tell me if it's not, though. But when somebody comes in, male or female, and they're looking for something to be done, non-invasive,
yeah,
of course, it's going to take more than one session, you know,
Yeah.
and it's something that may take weeks or months. And it might even be moved along faster if the patient does other work on themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to get you to compare too much, but I do want to know, are both sexes equally willing to sort of do the work that's required outside the office?
I feel, and that's an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest. I feel like women have a stronger drive. Men are approaching this,
Interesting.
and they're still, like, I would say, a bit more skeptical
Mm-hmm.
than women, because they haven't been doing this their whole life. They haven't been really educated too much about it. While women understand at the same time a bit more the insides out of things. So in terms of commitment, probably women would have a better one.
Yeah, I can see that being the case because I think, to your point, yeah, they've been dealing with it longer. You know, I think women of any age have been dealing with it their whole lives, whereas I don't think men too often, maybe in the last 15 years or so, I think they've really had to sort of
Yeah,
change.
women tend to think of the problem ahead, like
Right.
before it even occurs. Or
Mhm.
what will happen when my skin will be soggy? What will happen when I'll get wrinkles there? How can I prevent that? And then which are the best treatments that I can do now that I'm starting to see this? While men kind of just realize,
This is inevitable. This is life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one day from the other, like the next day, oh, actually, I realized this. Let's fix it. Let's find the most logical and faster
Sure.
and efficient way to do it.
And then when men, I'm curious about this. When men come in, is it because they've recognized that they finally need to address something, or is it because there's a woman in their life who has said, "I think maybe you need to address this"?
Probably both. But at the same time, I think men would have not approached these procedures until probably a decade ago, because there was not enough science to back it up. And again, like men tend to be a bit more logical about it. And so without the science to begin with, I don't think they would approach this.
So
technologies.
walk me through what happens. I come in and I'm interested. I think I have too much extra skin under my chin, as an
Yeah.
example. I come in and you would walk me through the process and you would say, these are the things that we could do. This is the cost. And then do you also get into the science and like the numbers saying we can reduce 15% of this, or we have a 50% success rate? Like, how does it work from the company's point of view to the client?
Well, so it all begins with initial assessment, of course, and because every client it's different and reacts differently, we have seen the most effective way to treat a patient to try a combination of things, and because certain people will react better to certain treatments than other, of course. Then, in terms of percentage, I think it's always safe to change the expectations of the client just after a few sessions, because after a few sessions you understand which kind of room of improvement you have with that specific line, with that specific technology. Then at that point it's safe to say, okay, I can actually reduce it by 30, 50% based on the reaction of
Right.
of your body so far. But yeah, I would stress that in general, it's always safe to combine different technologies and see what works best for each specific client. And that's where my clients succeed. My clients that succeed the most, the clinics that are achieving the best results, are usually those who, instead of selling necessary one procedure, like so one technology,
Right.
they sell you the result. And to get there, they know there's going to be a combination. They don't know exactly which will be the perfect formula, but they will learn by observing you and your improvements.
Are there procedures that are, this is a double barrel question. Are there procedures that are painful?
Not many, actually.
Okay, because that's what I was going to ask, which the follow-up question, do people accept that when there is pain involved? So for instance, I have tattoos. Part of the tattoo process, of course, is that it's a little bit painful, but you accept it. It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
With some of the procedures, do people expect better results if it's a little bit more painful, or they're willing to embrace the discomfort?
I feel like the pain and gain philosophy is slowly being abandoned.
Is it because people don't want the pain, or it's not necessary?
It's because it's not necessary anymore.
Okay.
So, yes, psychologically it helps to feel something, particularly when the result is not there right away. At least, like, if okay, something has been happening, I might just need to wait a bit. Right now, the results are quite straightforward, quite fast. Of course, as you mentioned, it might take like weeks and months because we're talking about non-invasive treatments, not invasive ones. But with the technology of nowadays, you're still able to show an improvement right away, and that's enough to put at ease the mind of the skeptical. So, and even if it doesn't involve pain.
So we spoke earlier, and I asked kind of in a generic sense, when men come in, what is it that they're usually looking for? And you had talked about like abdominal work where they want to maybe see abs, for instance. Again, I'm going to ask you to generalize, but when women come in, they're generally looking to improve what?
Nowadays, I would say, in general, they focus a lot on face, women. They tend to work a lot on the dark spot of skin. They want it to look like porcelain, basically.
Right.
The body is, though, becoming massive right now, even with women, even in the northern countries. We have seen an explosion of body contouring treatments in the past couple of years. And that's related to the success of GLP-1.
Which is?
Ozempic, Mounjaro, and so on. They kind of, I mean, they've been great so far, and at the same time, luckily for us, it created a bigger market for body contouring because people are losing weight very fast, but the skin is not keeping up with that. So they find themselves with like great skin laxity problems, and therefore, like the demand for body contouring has exploded. So I would say that right now that has been the number one requested treatment.
Okay, so let me ask you a practical question. Is if somebody has lost, say, I don't know, 10 or 15 kilograms in just a few months, and then there's an excess amount of skin. Non-invasively, you're able to work with that patient so that they're able to tighten up the skin?
Exactly.
And to the extent that the client would be happy?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how long does it take?
So we have conducted last year some clinical studies on this, specifically on skin laxity, because it became such a big topic. And we have seen, we took we worked with an independent laboratory in Italy, and we got a number of volunteers, all with different body, different BMIs, and all very different, also ethnically different. And we were able, in less than a month, to improve their skin laxity by over 30% on average. So, and less than a month is a really short amount of time. It means more or less 8 sessions, 2 sessions a week, more or less. And 30% with a very safe treatment with no downtime that requires less than 1 hour to be done, it's a very good result. So I think, then obviously again, everyone is different, but I think it's safe to say that a more consistent and longer period of time with more sessions could very easily get to even higher results, I think.
Because you deal with non-invasive
Yeah.
procedures, I'm always curious about the differences between the men and women. Who's more willing to lean into the non-invasive stuff and only go the surgical way as a last resort?
Definitely men. So the women market, I would say, it's split in 80% non-invasive and 20% micro or invasive, while the men's are over 90% non-invasive. They really prefer anything non-invasive as a first solution.
Is that because we're chicken and scared and we don't want to get hurt or in the recovery time? Or is it because we're trying to just, yeah, this is life. I don't want to go down that road in the recovery and the expense and whatnot?
No, I wouldn't say it's because we're chicken, but the latter, yeah. They want also don't want to make it a big deal at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
It needs to be something easy that works, of course,
Right.
but a bit more easy. They don't want downtime. They don't want to
Be out of
to
commission.
look like the person who had that thing done that much. It's still a bit of a taboo. Maybe with the hair a bit less now that everyone is kind of doing it, but
Yeah.
if they can keep it low key with no downtime, I think that's what they prefer.
Yeah, I think that there is still, you'll get a segment of the population, the male population, I think, and I'm just looking at, friends of mine, who would be comfortable with certain procedures, invasive and non-invasive. But I also think that from a practical point of view, they're less inclined to want to be out of commission for too long, to not be able to go to work, or for the world to see that they had that procedure done for too long, right? I think they can take a week or two off if they've traveled to Turkey and they've come back, fine. But I think that it's kind of a reverse vanity where you don't necessarily, at least in my opinion, right? I'm willing to put in the work. I don't know that I necessarily would want people to know that I sort of did the additional thing, because that might make it seem like I'm a little bit too vain.
Yes, that's absolutely
right.
Right, I do agree with that.
Okay, so I'm like the average guy then.
Yeah.
So, and women are willing to do whatever it is that they want done, no matter how long it's going to take, or if at a certain point they have to go under the knife, they're willing to do that more frequently than men, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then when you're looking at all of the information that you get back from, the independent laboratories and the scientists that you're working with, is there trying to figure out a way to determine the success rate? How are you able to, at what point do you realize, okay, this is worth us introducing as a procedure because there is enough science there now, so that we can say to people, yes, we can actually do something with this?
So I would say it all tends to start a bit as a trend. And at the end of the day, the result is what drives everything else. Drives sales, but drives the science.
So if it works,
research.
Gotcha.
So we would start to test any technology, and if the results backs the hype, then we would generally try to invest into that technology, in the research and the promotion of the technology. If there is not enough science behind it, but there is a result, actually, it makes it very exciting. Because you might be looking into something almost like revolutionary, let's say.
And I know that it would vary, I'm sure, on the procedures and the science, but in general, from the time you start digging for the data that you can then use with clients until the procedure is actually available, Is there a standard length of time where it's going to take minimum 6 months or 3 months or 18 months?
So what we used to do is it's a bit of a hybrid approach. So we first test internally the technology to see if there's something solid behind it that we can dig into. Then parallelly, we have some clinics that are always happy to be at the forefront and help us testing stuff. They will start showing us real life results. And with those results, if those results are positive, then we start investing in more and more research to back it up with more and more data. You know, the risk would be otherwise to spend like a year with doing independent research, or even longer sometimes, depending on what kind of clinical study you're looking into, and find yourself with nothing. So obviously we need to mitigate that risk. And so the initial result drives the investment into research that then can take different years. Like we sponsored a PhD in Italy which took 3 years. Then we have like shorter studies. It also depends on the technology. You know, like if we look at HIFU, just to finish a full cycle of an HIFU procedure, you need at least 12 to 18 months. So obviously the testing, the research would at least last a couple of years. Yet other procedures, like the body contouring, like T-Shape 2 is our bestseller right now, and actually the fastest growing procedure in the US. And I guess it's also linked to the GLP-1 topic. The protocol is much shorter. So to be able to present like real clinical data, I would need 6 months or less.
So before you expanded into Dubai, you must have had a pretty good inclination that what we're about as a company is going to work in Dubai.
Yeah.
What was it that made you think, oh, what we do here is very much on brand for Dubai?
It was a bit of a leap in the unknown at the beginning, but it's an incredible test area, Dubai, because of the variety of ethnicalities that you have. In Dubai, it's almost like a micro market that kind of represents what's working around the world. So if you, in a way, are able to make it in Dubai, you would easily understand where else you can make it. Generally, I would say globally you would have a high rate of success.
Sure.
But you could also be a bit more specific in the countries where you would be very successful. There is a big, perhaps, Russian audience. We know exactly what they like, and you can test it here before you decide to launch in Russia.
Right.
Obviously, right now it's a bit sensitive, but hopefully, when this will be over, it's an incredible market to approach, and it's nice to be able to do some testing in a smaller market where it's a bit easier to have access to all these different people coming from different regions, and they all like different things, you know. So it's a tough market, Dubai. Don't get me wrong. It's very demanding, and very little forgiving at the same time. So it's a great test market in general, I would say. Yeah.
So we talked earlier about people coming in and asking for certain procedures or social media trends. And then, of course, the science that you may have working independently. But what is it that you're looking at the closest when you're trying to figure out that could be the next big thing? Are there any indicators in the market or anecdotally that you hear that you've learned to trust? Yes, based on what we're hearing or seeing, this is what's going to happen next.
Generally speaking, when we decide to invest in a specific country, from a consumer point of view, we try to see which is the trend in terms of spending towards beauty. So there are certain countries that might be on paper a bit less wealthy than others. We can take as an example Mexico. They have I think less than half the GDP per capita of Italy, or the average salary is less than half. I'm confused between the two, to be honest, right now. But my point being, they're twice as keen to spend into beauty procedures. So you have a market where, despite the general economical environment, the demand it's there. It's there, as in one of the richest countries like Italy or France. So from a consumer perspective, that's what we look at, and then we try to understand, obviously, culturally, what are people demanding for. Again, Latin countries, they tend to focus a lot on the body compared to
Men
the
and
face.
women?
Men and women, yeah, both. Also because it's often more exposed compared to Nordic countries. So from a consumer perspective, we look at this, we look at what they've been doing now. If there's something that is working very well in a similar country, but is not present there yet, then that's a big opportunity to bring it to market. From a B2B perspective, which is our case, we look at how sophisticated is financially the country, how much understanding of the asset does the market have, because the clinics tend to purchase our technologies with different financing options, and if the financier behind doesn't understand the asset, because the market is relatively new to this, then it becomes a bit harder for us. I'm not saying we wouldn't approach that market, but we would have a completely different strategy. That's the case of Mexico, actually.
Is there something that's happening? Like we talked a little bit earlier, we could go to the mall and we could see all the women who have lip fillers, right?
Yeah.
In, say, 18 months, is there going to be something that's new that a lot of women are going to want to be a part of? That maybe a few women are now, but it hasn't quite blown up yet? Or is it
there's definitely a trend. Then every country is different. Like I would say in Dubai, there might be, like in Saudi, decreasing demand for injectables, and in general, I think there is a shifting more towards more holistic solutions.
Nice.
Like HIFU or other regenerative technologies that work on what you already have and makes it more effective, let's say, at doing it.
So maybe less Botox. That might be
Probably
the trend.
I would say less Botox. It's what we're going towards.
Okay.
Yeah. Not only Dubai, by the way. I would say globally.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask the same question, but for men, is there something that's happening that you think is going to be quite popular in 18 months, or it's going to be less frequent in 18 months?
I think men are increasingly interested in body contouring, and I was personally shocked. Also, at quite a young age, they tend to. I mean, I would say historically, like men would try to just be healthier, eating better, and do more sports or weight.
Right.
But now, actually, they're also looking for other options outside of that, and I would say body contouring treatments are going to become more and more in trend for men as well. And again, this also goes back to GLP-1. GLP-1 is not only a women's procedure, so also men are into that, and it's going to drive the demand very, very
Okay,
high.
because we talked about it a little bit more, I'm going to ask one more question. So when it comes to body contouring, what does the procedure involve?
There's very different ones. You can decide to work on the muscle or work on the dermal tissue. Very, very popular one has been recently the magnetic waves procedures. So what it does basically, it's almost like recreating what's happening in a gym at a very high level, almost hard to achieve naturally. So giving you those contractions very fast at an intensity that you really need to be doing like a CrossFit workout, kind of, if you want to achieve that. So on the muscle sides, there's different procedures like MMS or EMS, which are helping develop the muscle faster. And so that's one side of the body contouring. And then the other side, it's working towards the skin laxity of the body. So it's more regenerative towards elastin, collagen, hyaluronic acid, and these cells.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you can do that with different technology, from LLT laser, radio frequencies, infrareds. There's really a lot out there that helps.
Brando, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was great.